Hey, it's Matt. I'm wondering, do you know where to find the right resources that you need to build your annual preaching calendar? If you don't, I'm going to show you three of my favorite tools in this video as we talk about how you can start building your very own annual preaching calendar. One of the things that we do in Pastors and Preachers is that we run ads to things like Facebook and Instagram, and one of the ads that we ran last year asked the question, basically, what do you do when you're having a hard time figuring out what to preach next? What are the tools and resources that are available? And the way we said it was intentionally provocative, and of course, when you provoke people, they start to ask questions and get frustrated. And at one point in time, somebody's like, "Who does this guy think that he is?" Because he's basically just talking about an annual preaching calendar like there aren't things that are already out there that exist that can help you do that. Now, what I was not saying in that ad was that I have some solution and I'm the only person who's ever thought of this. But one of the things that I was actually getting to is a lot of the stuff that they were bringing out and examples of tools and resources that are already there. And all I was trying to do in that ad, and all I'm doing in this video actually, is just trying to help you by saying, hey, if you're trying to have a clear and consistent plan for your sermons, from sermon to sermon or series to series, then here are a few tools and resources that I think can help you. Some of these are ones that I use. Some of these are things that have been created by friends of mine, been helpful to other people that I know of. And so all I try to do with my private clients, and what I want to do here in this video for you, is just to go, hey, if you're trying to figure out how to build a preaching calendar, you might not have to do it from scratch. There are three resources that I love to point people to that I think would be really, really helpful. So why don't I walk you through these three tools? And as you're listening to this, there might be one that you're already using. And so maybe think about how you sharpen that particular tool. Or maybe there's one here that you hadn't really thought about before. And that might be a new tool to put in your proverbial tool belt and to help you build your calendar. So the first resource that I love to share with people are done-for-you resources. I'm going to give you one, and we'll link this up below in the description, is that my friend Justin Trapp from Ministry Pass has a sermon calendar that he releases every year. And what I love about it is that it's basically a catalyst. It keeps you from having to start from scratch as you think about what to preach in the next year. Now, I think the smart way to use that is not just to copy and paste, but to actually take the pieces that are there and incorporate some of them into your context. So maybe you're not using the entire calendar, but maybe you're using sections of it because it just fits really well with what your people need and where your church is at the moment. And so, again, that may be a way to really help you get started. And so check out that link below and look at that resource that Justin's put together that Ministry Pass has developed for you. I think it's really, really, really helpful. So that's the first tool and resource that's available, just some of these done-for-you calendars and sermon templates that are out there. These aren't sermons. Some of the resources out there do make those available. What I'm saying is at least just get the calendar. Just at least see where they're going. Figure out the text and the topic, and maybe that just kind of jump-starts your process. The second resource and tool, and a lot of people have talked about this when we run these ads, is the lectionary. And I love the lectionary. I love the fact that there is a simple, systematic way for you to look at multiple options from different texts in the Bible that you could preach. And you can package these together as a series. You could package these together as just kind of just a way for you to think about this particular part of the church year, and that's usually the way that lectionaries are built. Or you can do these in one-offs. And so there's a lot of places you can go and different ways to use this. And that's the thing that I always encourage people to do, is to make this your own. Leverage the work that other people have done in order to save you some time and energy and inevitably some frustration, and be able to then apply it into your situation and context and make that particular tool your own. And so I love the lectionary. It's something that I like to use personally in my own devotional life, and I really appreciate the way that churches in other traditions use it as well. So the lectionary is a great thing to do. Now, here's one of the things I'd love for you to do as we're walking through this. In the comment section below, let me know what your experience has been, or your perception is of outside resources. If you use them, I'd love for you to just take a minute to just say, hey, here's what I've used and here's how it's been helpful. That may be an easy way to share that with other people, right? And if you have maybe never used them before, or you've used them and haven't found them helpful, let's talk about that too. If you have hesitation in using the lectionary or using some kind of done-for-you template, then talk about that down there. And again, we want to continue to learn and grow in this journey together as pastors and preachers, and so I'd encourage you to do that. Now, the third reason, why I think that we want to use these tools is because not only do we have an opportunity to be able to have a plan, but we really do want to build on what other people have done and then apply it to our context. And then we really want to ground it in the scriptures. And that's the third tool I actually want to use here. So if the first tool and resource is some kind of done-for-you template, and then the second resource is the lectionary, then the third resource is the Bible. But specifically, I think one of the best tools that you have available for you is to really preach books of the Bible. And so we could talk about this as consecutive exposition. And I think the real benefit of preaching through books of the Bible is you never have to wonder what you should preach next. So I'm preaching through the Gospel of John right now, and we're finishing up chapter 2. And guess what comes after John chapter 2? Well, it's John chapter 3. And so I know what I'm going to preach next. Now, there's the downside and the potential that you're not going to pay enough, you're not going to pay enough attention to your context and your situation, and you're going to end up getting a little lazy, perhaps, and not having the contextual focus you need to be able to think about where we go from here. And I'm all for the sovereignty of God as a Presbyterian minister, but I also know that God works sovereignly through us applying wisdom, and sometimes the wisdom might mean that we break those series up into smaller things, that we may be preaching through the Gospel of John, but we're going to take time at Christmas or in this particular season or on this particular week, we're going to take a break from that because we really need to focus on this particular topic or some other text because of what's going on in the world around us or what's going on in our culture. But I would say I predominantly use books of the Bible to really shape our preaching calendar for our church. And so those are three resources that are there and available for you. The Bible itself, preaching through books of the Bible, the lectionary, and then some kind of done-for-you template like we talked about. And again, we linked up a great example of that and a great resource from Ministry Pass for you below. Now, here's really what I want you to be thinking about. I want you to be thinking about, out of those resources, which one or ones are you using already, and just take a time to really sharpen that tool. Maybe you can think about a slightly different way to preach consecutively through the scriptures. Maybe you don't need to go for the next 106 weeks. We're going to preach through the Gospel of John. Maybe we're going to turn that into shorter series and break it up with some other things. Maybe you've thought and just used the lectionary as kind of one-off sermons, and there's no real plan and no flow to it other than the broader church calendar. And maybe you start to create series out of that. And then that done-for-you resource, maybe you used it last year and you just cut and pasted, and this year you're going to go, I'm not going to use all of it. I'm going to use some of it, and then we're going to find some ways to fill in the blanks with maybe some of these other tools as well. So either sharpen the tool you're already using or grab a brand new tool and to begin to put it to work for you. Now, next week we're going to come back in our next video, and we're going to talk about how do you start actually building your sermon calendar. Now, one of the things that I would say is that if you're slightly impatient and you don't want to wait until next week, then one of the things you can do is you can go to the video description, and we have a training class that we've created that will walk you through from A to Z, step by step, through what it looks like for you to actually build an annual preaching calendar. We give you a downloadable, customizable template, so you don't have to create that on your own. We just give that to you, and then you just build that calendar on your own. So I think that would be a great way for you to take what you've learned in this video and to go ahead and apply it now. But we will come back next week. If you just want the basic building blocks, we're going to come back and just walk you through a few of the steps that you need to take in order to not just think about having a calendar, but actually building one yourself. So again, if you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do that now so that when that video comes out next week, it'll just be right there waiting for you. And if there's anything that I said today that was helpful for you, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a comment below just to let me know, hey, here's what was helpful today. Here's my big takeaway. Or if you just want to say, hey, this was helpful, thank you. That's a great way for me to know that we're creating the right resources for you, because that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to help pastors and preachers enjoy living faithfully and leading fruitfully. It's a real privilege to be able to do that. And I hope to see you on the next video. And wherever you are, hope you take care.